So if you're anything like me, then you probably have a gaming handheld PC already, such as the Lenovo Legion Go, the Lenovo Legion Go S, the SteamOS variant, or the Windows variant, or you have like an ROG Ally, an MSI Claw, an IO Neo, a Steam Deck, or any of the like. Well, they're pretty popular. They're still pretty niche. And the thing that's interesting is the fact that the successor to the original Lenovo Legion Go from 2023 is going to be dropping later this year for over $1,500. That, I don't know. That price for a lot of people is causing a lot of people to pause. Now, that's not to say that there are not going to be people that are going to pick it up, but that's a big price jump over what the Legion Go dropped at and also what the Legion Go S dropped at. And honestly, in my opinion, if you've got the original Legion Go or you've got the Legion Go S, specifically the Steam Deck variation or the SteamOS variation, I don't really see there being much of a reason for you to upgrade to the Legion Go 2. Well, we're going to talk about that and so much more in this episode of Decked Up, a gaming and tech podcast. Let's go ahead and get into it. What's up, everybody? This is Mekel Kasanova, host of Decked Up, a gaming tech podcast. I know it's been a while since we have talked about game tech, like handheld gaming PCs. I know the last video I did really rubbed some people the wrong way who really misunderstood the message when I was saying that there are too many handheld gaming PCs, because a lot of people took that as saying, oh, well, that doesn't mean that you're expected to go out and buy every single one of them. Or the other ones that got me were, no one told you you had to buy them all. Or that's like saying, why would you make this console and that console? There's a lot of stupid takes. And I'm just like, the point here is here's the point, and it's right over your head. So a lot of people are quick to be a keyboard warrior without actually taking time to understand what's actually being said, which is kind of interesting. Nonetheless, though, I want to talk about that, the Lenovo Legion Go 2, which is the successor to one of the most, it's one of the best handheld gaming PCs. But the problem is Lenovo's support of the original Legion Go and even Legion Go S has kind of been a little spotty. It's kind of interesting, right? And look, I'm a Lenovo content creator, so I work closely with Lenovo reviewing a lot of the products from the Legion Go series, the gaming laptops, monitors, desktops, and more. So I do work with them pretty closely, but they don't sponsor or pay for any of my videos. It's just saying, Gare, I make a video, and then we kind of go from there. So I want to talk about the Lenovo Legion Go 2, its price, the feature set that it's going to come with, and understanding or looking for where the value is in it and the concerns I have with the future of handheld gaming PCs. Another topic I want to touch on is the fact that there have been some leaks for the Steam Deck successor, which is a Steam Deck console, which is going to be competing. Allegedly, this is all alleged. I gotta say allegedly, so no one can be like, see, you said it. I'm just like, allegedly. But we already know that Valve has been working hard on successor to the Steam Deck as it is. They confirmed that a while ago. So we're going to talk about those two things, as well as the last one I want to touch on being Nintendo Switch keycards and how I am so tired of the conversation surrounding that. So anyways, let's start off with the main course, which is none other than the successor to the Lenovo Legion Go, the Lenovo Legion Go 2, which is going to be coming out the end of this year or within a couple of weeks, depending on whenever you're watching it. It could even be out now. And it's going to start at $1,500. Now, that's going to give you, if we're looking at the differences in the performance between the original Legion Go and Legion Go Gen 2 or Legion Go 2, the Legion Go 1 has the Z1 Extreme processor. The 2 has the Z2 Extreme processor, so it's going to be a higher performance boost. This has a 49 watt hour battery life. That one has I believe either 79 or 84 watt hour battery, or 89 watt hour battery. So it's like double the battery life. So you're going to get a bigger battery life. It's going to feel slightly heavier. There's some people already have the Legion Go 2, like Tech Chat, Dave 2D have already done their early impressions of it. So you still get the Hall effect sticks, Hall effect triggers. You still are able to detach these and use them as a mouse, with the attachment, kind of like you could with that, which I think is a great selling point with Lenovo's line of gaming handhelds. Also, the trackpad, you still have the same type of trackpad. The D-pad is where it differs, because what they did is they took the superior D-pad that you got on the Legion Go S, and they basically put that on the Legion Go 2 or Legion Go Gen 2. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Superior D-pad, so if you're going to be playing fighting games or platformers like I do, then it's going to feel a lot more comfortable, and your inputs are going to be perfect. Whereas like with this is one of the worst D-pads in handheld gaming PC, or just any type of controller in general. This is just one of the worst. I absolutely hate this D-pad. So that's improved. You still have the same intake, outtake, micro SD support, dual USB-C inputs, and also the power button also doubles as a biometric sensor, so you can unlock utilizing just a fingerprint at the top spot. The difference is when it comes to screen quality, it actually goes down from being the 2K screen like this one had with the higher refresh rate to a 1920 by 1200 screen with OLED. It's an OLED screen, and it also has VRR support and HDR. So those are going to be the market improvements. I know a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, but this had a 2K screen. Yeah, but how many people actually played at that resolution? A lot of people dropped the resolution of the screen to 1080p or lower so that they could save on battery life and also get better performance overall. Now, a lot of people are not going to be using these at the highest resolution. So it makes sense to drop it down to that resolution, which is also a Samsung panel that they put in it. So keep that in mind too. So with all that, it weighs more, roughly same dimensions, a little bit thicker. And I'm kind of like, I get it. I can understand why they're charging the amount they are for the upgrade, but at the same time, it is not a generational leap. The biggest benefit you're getting is the OLED screen, the lower resolution OLED screen. It's a lower resolution from the original, but instead of being the LCD panel, it's the OLED, the HDR built into it, the optimizations that are going to be better for running games on it and kind of killing the background resources for Windows. And I think also the controller, the D-pad, being better, but it's not. I mean, even with the double the battery life, which is great. I think the battery life wasn't the greatest in the original Legion Go, so that is cool that they are increasing the battery by doubling it, and the Z2 Extreme processor being better than Z1, but it's still not a major leap. So this is not going to be one of those devices where people are going to rush out and drop money to get it, because the price that this is hovering at, you might as well be able to either buy components and build a gaming desktop. And I used to be one of those people that got so annoyed when people brought that up, but I get it now. For 1,400, $1,500, you can build a gaming desktop or buy a pre-made one or get a gaming laptop and get superior performance as opposed to this gaming handheld. Honestly, I would say, for me personally, I would actually recommend people go and just get the original Steam, like not Steam Deck, but the original Legion Go, and kind of ride that out for another generation. Or honestly, get the Steam OS version or even the regular version of the Legion Go S, which has the same specs for the most part, minus the screen resolution and battery life, but both have 32 gigs of RAM, Z2 Extreme, and ergonomics are better on it. I think this is honestly my favorite gaming handheld PC out there. I see more value in people going with this as opposed to going with the the Legion Go 2 or Legion Go 2. I personally don't see a lot of the value. Now, it's not to say that there are not going to be people that are not going to buy it. And I know there are people who compare it to Steam Deck, like, oh, Steam Deck hasn't come out with another one. Yeah, but Valve owns Steam, so they can operate at a hardware loss because they're making up for it with software sales. Whereas these companies are hardware focused, like Lenovo, Acer, Alienware, Asus. These are hardware focused. So while they're making these handhelds run better, run longer, have better performance, the price of that is just going to keep going up, which was the point of my original video talking about their two main gaming handheld PCs. And I think for Lenovo, they are offsetting the fact that they realize that maybe people are not going to go en masse and buy the Legion Go 2 with them having the Legion Go S, especially with the SteamOS variation. Highly recommend that. I can't really say that I can see much of a reason for people to spend that money to go from the original, or even if they have a Steam Deck to go to that. But more so, if you have the original, I would say either stick with it or get the Legion Go S and get, the Z2 Extreme version. That is what I would actually recommend. I'm not seeing a lot outside the OLED screen and better battery life and HDR and the D-pad. That would be the only reason. So really that kind of comes up to you. Me, I don't see a lot of the value. I know I will get a review unit to cover, but I can't say that, if I'm going between that or the Asus ROG Ally X Xbox edition, better overall specs on the Legion Go 2, better ergonomics on the Xbox ROG Ally X, more RAM on the Lenovo Legion Go 2 than the Xbox ROG Ally X, which only has 24 gigs of RAM, but it's going to be more optimized because Xbox is more heavily involved with that one. And it's going to be cheaper, allegedly. So, no, that's a tough call. I'm not really seeing a lot of reason why anyone would just jump out and go and get this. Definitely say wait and see, do some of your own research, and maybe wait for some reviews to surface. Tech Shop has one, How the FTD has one, a couple other people have some. So just wait and see. Now, the other thing I want to touch on is Valve's leaked Steam Deck console, which is going to come out, which is supposed to be competing, allegedly, again, have to say allegedly, with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. And this, I'm not sure how many, the age demographic of everyone who watches these videos or listens to this podcast, but the Steam box was something that was tried about a decade ago. You could get one, it was Alienware and Steam and Valve had worked together to make these kind of quasi console like home PCs, right? And so the concept, it just seems like with the success of how well the Steam Deck has done, especially getting developers to optimize their games to run at it, which runs at a lower threshold, which also means if it runs on Steam Deck and run on the Xbox Series S, it seems like they're like, hey, we can actually go into the console. We got extra cash we can throw around. We can take a risk and put out this console. So if this is going to be a more souped up Steam Deck, it can be priced a little bit comparably to it. It can come out at about I would say the price range for this, if I was a betting man, I would say between 500 at the lowest end and up to 1200 for the highest spec out one, maybe 1500. And you could have the highest components built in, highest RAM. It's running Linux for SteamOS. And you basically, all you need to do is just pair a controller and there you go. Plug and play, basically go wherever you want to go. And I think, honestly, that would give the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series a massive run for their money. And Valve has the money to actually spare to do this, right? They don't need to do this, but I mean, they could dominate the handheld, the niche handheld, which they do dominate the niche handheld PC gaming market, but also the PC home space, kind of like quasi gaming desktop space. They can dominate both. And if it can be modular in the sense of the Steam Deck can dock into it and you can go portable, or you can go you can have basically a portable Steam Deck that can be modular connected to the base and you give that high performance. If they even have that as an option down the road, then it's going to be hard to beat that. When it comes to value, the category and library of games you can get, and just the versatility of it. That's something I would pay a lot of money for. But yeah, Valve has money to go into this sector to do this again and do it successfully. And I expect this to create a boom where you're going to start seeing companies like Lenovo will probably team up with them again and have like a Legion Steam box type of deal, right? You could probably see other companies coming into the fold utilizing SteamOS to do this. So I see a lot of potential with this possible. So is again, this is kind of a wait and see. I definitely could see this coming out down the road, and I would love to know if you guys could speculate seeing this happen. All right. So the other thing I want to talk about, last article that I want to touch on with this podcast, is Nintendo Switch 2 game keys. Now, a lot of people complain about them because they say, hey, game keys, they're basically killing the collector space. You're not really getting the full game on the card. Most games are, you know, are downloads, and a lot of people act like this is new, when the reality is this is something we've been dealing with for 20 years, which started with the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era, which at the time of its release of this podcast has been 20 years since this came out. And basically, that's the experience you got. That's the first console generation, which created this type of phenomena, and it's still going on. A lot of people are like, yeah, but Nintendo shouldn't have done that. Everything should be on the cart. And there's a lot of misinformation where people are saying that, if you get these game key cards, you can't trade them into GameStop or places because other people can't use it. And then there's people that are saying, oh, you use these game key cards, they can break your console. There's a whole lot of misinformation that's going out there. And there's just so many people that don't really know what they're talking about. And that's kind of where we are at with the game key card information. Now, yes, there are a lot of games you can pick up like Star Wars Outlaws, the Chronos game, and a lot of other games are game key cards where you put them in and it downloads it. But what we found out from developers, especially one of the developers on Star Wars Outlaws, the Switch 2 port, they basically informed us that, hey, the Switch 2 carts run at a certain speed, and the game for certain assets needs a higher bandwidth and speed. And so that's why it does download it, because the game cards are capped at a certain data bandwidth. And so the internal SSD that's in it, which is the M.1, not M.1, M.2 SSD, which is in it, runs at a particular speed. So that's why it's different and it's faster than the game key card. So that's one of the reasons why we have the game key card situation. I know a lot of people hate the like the partial downloads, and a lot of people fearmonger, oh, we're not going to be able to get it. There are games that if you bought on DSi or Nintendo 3DS eShop or the Wii eShop or the Wii U eShop, you can still download them decades later. So, those servers are still up. However long they're going to be up, I don't know if they're going to be up 30, 40 years from now, but they're up now. And there's nothing that we can really do about it. Complaining isn't helping when people are complaining without providing solutions other than pointing fingers and saying, this is because Nintendo's greedy, or this is because Nintendo cheaped out on the components. I'm pretty sure that Nintendo can make a game key card that has a higher bandwidth and speed, and developers could get that or re-optimize their assets to run at the slower speed as opposed to needing to do a download. Really, I think the reason we have so many game key cards is because a lot of these devs didn't get their dev kits to be able to properly, completely optimize their games on the Switch 2 hardware. That's really why I think we have so many games that are key cards. I could be wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong, but this is the most logical thing I can come to as to why these games are the way they are. And I really feel like all the complaining is just getting tiring. Like I see a lot of just absolute stupidity in the Switch 2 Reddit and Switch 2 Facebook groups and such of just people completely talking out of their ass. And it's like, well, what are you talking about? Why are you making up shit? But then I remember it's the internet. People do a lot of things for, attention. And so that's kind of what it is. You'll see a lot of influencers and content creators making YouTube videos where they're saying this game key cards are what's killing the Switch, and or this or that. They, over dramatize things. And I kind of look at it and I'm just like, this is really stupid. But, what do you expect? It is what it is. And that's just kind of how I look at it. It is tiring, but the best you can do is ignore it, because these people are just doing this for attention and clicks, and move on about your day. as time goes on, within like the next year or two, we're going to start seeing more games that are not using key cards. They're going to be completely optimized to run on it. Or Nintendo might actually make a higher capacity data bandwidth game card. And I think we're going to get more that are just going to be completely on the card. But we'll see. We have to wait and see, right? This isn't stopping people. I know people assume because they see people complaining and there's like hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands liking, the anti-game key card rhetoric that's out there. Again, I'm not defending Nintendo, so don't assume that. But I know people will look at that and think everyone's thinking like me about this, but you have to keep this in perspective. There are 8 billion people on the planet. So what is several hundred, several thousands, tens of thousands in comparison to 8 billion people on this planet? That's a microcosm. So don't allow that to really poison and warp your perspective. Things are what they are. And until a better solution comes around, this is how it is. And we just have to work with it. But that's my thoughts. I think we're going to see more games be fully on the cart as time goes on and more developers get their hands on dev kits. And we're going to have better optimized games. Currently NBA 2K26 and Madden and a couple of the games run at 30 frames per second, docked and undocked. And I think we're going to get more that are going to be better optimized to run at 60. 25 runs at 60 for the most part, and then goes down to 30 for certain tie-ups and certain, finishers and such. But I think as time goes on, better optimization is going to come. We just got to give it time. And I know patience is not the internet's strong suit, especially in this, instantaneous time frame that we're in humanity right now. But that's where we are. So with that being said, that's this episode of Decked Up, a Gaming Tech Podcast. Let me know what you guys think of all the topics that we had today down in the comment section down below. And with that being said, I'm signing out. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay safe, be blessed, have aloha. I'll see you around. Peace out.